Hi everyone, Hannah Rosenberg here from Cheers to Israel Tours. I would like to invite you to our first site of Shiloh. This is the ancient city where the Tabernacle stood, and a perfect story to start off our drinking through the Bible. Come join me right now. I am now entering the Tabernacle. And as you can see when we look inside, the size of it, the mass of it, but what do we really know? How do we know this is the place? Really simple. Open up your Bibles, turn to Exodus chapters 25, and start reading. Inside of this, Moses gets the exact rules of how every detail of it should be. From the dimensions, the height, the fabrics need to be made, the colors of the fabrics, how many knots, every detail is shown. So we know that this area is the area this existed in. These walls are the walls that were surrounding with the tabernacle. You would have had the wood spouts coming out of these. Besides that, this is really cool. Covered in this area are clay pots. Clay pots would have been very common back in that century. Some of them, they even have the proper ones that are inside of the museum showing you exactly the size coming from the time period properly. So many little details inside of this that can prove that this is the location. This is Shiloh. On top of that, the hills surrounding us, if you look directly in front of me, where I'm staring at right now, we have the modern day city of Shiloh. About 400 families that are living there. So this community that is right over here on this hill is keeping the traditions of Shiloh alive, keeping this site so gorgeous. We are currently standing in the ancient city of Shiloh. 3,000 years ago, this was the capital of the Jewish people. All 12 of the tribes were formed in this area. The land was divided, and the Jewish people continued their amazing story. But what is special about exactly where I'm standing? This would have been the tabernacle, the actual place where they would have put the Ark of the Holy of Holies before we had a temple. The whole community would have come into this area. And if you go into the book of Samuel, you hear lots of different stories. One of which is where I get my name from, the story of Chana and her prayer. So we're going to read a little passage from that right now. Book of Samuel, Hannah's vow. Then Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart grieved? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord, and she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed to the Lord, and wept in anguish. Then she made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but you will give your maidservant a male child, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head. And it happened as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli watched her mouth. Now Hannah spoke in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunk. So Eli said to her, How long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you. But Hannah answered and said, No, my lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken until now. Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and God of Israel will grant your petition which you have asked of him. And she said, Let your maidservant find favor in your sight. So the woman went away and ate, and her face was no longer sad. This is the exact spot this event would have happened. You can just imagine Hannah sitting on her knees begging, Please, God, I want a son. And Eli walks over and sees her like that. But she's screaming out from her heart and soul, but not really in the way that you would imagine seeing it from a different perspective, which is why Eli thought she was drunk. From this prayer that Hannah has said, we have gotten our own version of the way we pray in Judaism as women. When we say the prayers, we'll read from our Torah scrolls, our Sidors, and we'll read, but we'll only move our mouths and barely say it to ourselves, not so everyone else can hear us. Sitting here in Shiloh, 3,000 years ago, things would have been very different. This would have been the capital for the Jews. This is before the 12 tribes were made and divvied out for their lands. This is the biggest place for sacrifices. We're standing in the tabernacle where the priests would have been doing the sacrifices. Down in the valley, we had all the animals coming up. You'd have the soon-to-be tribes scattered all around the hills over here, worshiping all the time up here. Very, very important. You have all the high priests, the poor, the young, the weak, everyone in between. And then we look into the corner and we see Chana. Chana, with her special prayer, who has finally had a baby son, and is dedicating him to God. This is how Chana's prayer goes. My heart rejoices in the Lord. My horn is exalted in the Lord. I smile at my enemies because I rejoice in your salvation. No one is holy like the Lord, for there is none besides you, nor is there any rock like our God. Talk no more so very proudly. Let no arrogance come from your mouth. For the Lord is the God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and those who stumbled are girded with strength. Those who were full have hired themselves for bread, and the hungry have ceased to hunger. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has so many children has become feeble. The Lord kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and brings up. The Lord makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the beggar from the ash and heap, to set them among princes and make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. He will guard the feet of his saints, but the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For the strength no man shall prevail. The advisories of the Lord shall be broken in pieces. From heaven he will thunder against them. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth, and he will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. After reading Hannah's prayer, it just makes you really passionate and want to look around a lot more and learn the rest of the history that is really in this area. It's just so vast. Hold on a second. I think Hannah may have forgotten something, or her prayer really did work. Hey guys, welcome to Jerusalem. We are now a whole 40 kilometers south of Shiloh, and I am here with a lovely lady named Zoe in her bar. Zoe, what's up? What's your name of your bar?
The bar is called The Red Lady, and we're more than happy to have you here today.
Wonderful, so happy to have you here. So we're going to be doing a cocktail today called Hannah's Prayer.
Ooh, what's that?
It's a really delicious cocktail. You're going to need just a few ingredients to really make this one, and it's going to be really fun, and you do lots of little twists off of a cosmopolitan. So our main focus is pomegranate. Pomegranate is from the Bible. It's called rimon in Hebrew, which means when you throw it, it explodes into a bunch of different seeds. It's one of the 7 species, and it's a very good, strong one because Hannah would have eaten this all the time living in the land of Israel. You also need some pineapple juice, an egg. Trust me, if you're afraid of eggs, you can do it without, but it gives it the texture and it really helps with it. You also need lime. You could use a lemon instead if you cannot get a hold of a lime. Some cointreau or triple sec, rum, a beautiful glass to serve it in, and a little bit of sugar water. So with that going, we're going to get started. Alrighty guys, this is what you're going to need. I'm currently using a champagne coupe glass. It's one of my preferences. You could also use a lowball or a martini glass, whatever suits you. First, we're going to want to chill down this glass and put it off to the side. So to chill it without putting it in a freezer, we're going to add some ice and add some water. Now, as it sits and rests, we have plenty of time to continue the rest. First thing you do when you're doing a cocktail is we're going to start off prepping the garnish. So we're going to take a lime and scrape off a whole strip of it. After you're done with the strip, we're gonna cut away all the fruit inside and edge it out to our perfection that we want, and you're going for something that looks like this. A nice strip that looks pretty on both sides. Now take that and leave it off to the side for just a little bit. Now we're ready to get more started. We're gonna start with our shaker. The last thing you ever do is add in ice. So we're gonna start off with our most important ingredient, which is our egg. And in Judaism, it's really strong. We want to check to make sure this egg is kosher and there is no chance of it being fertilized. So when we check it, we open it up and we check to make sure there's no blood, which is why we do it first, because in case there is, we then cannot use it. Our egg is good to go, so we can continue. Give the hands a quick rinse in case any egg yolks get on it. And now we're going to move on to the rest of our ingredients. So we're going to pick up our jigger. You have two sides of your jigger. It's normally 50 milliliters and 25 milliliters. Sometimes it's 30 and 60. Depends on what you have. You got to play around with it. Our pomegranate juice, our rimon, our grenade, the ones that explodes, our 7 species. We're going to do about 50 milliliters worth of it. Pineapple juice, or ananas in almost every other language. Again, 50 milliliters. Now we need to add our sugar water. Sugar water, really simple when you make it. Just boil water and put as much sugar as you possibly can. You want 15 milliliters. Don't add too much, though. Next thing, we have a lime that has absolutely no skin left on it. It's okay if it has a little bit. The whole point is we're going to muddle it all deep down. And last but not least, our alcohols. So we have our rum that we're using today, which is Bacardi. We're going to put another 30 milliliters of that in. And Cointreau, or you could also use triple sec. This is just the fancier version. You're going to use about 20 milliliters of that. So you have two ways of doing this. The front one that I prefer, because we have the fresh fruit, is we're going to muddle a little bit before we add in our ice, just to get that lime broken up a little bit. Okay, I can feel that lime is nice and broken up. We're going to add in our ice. And now we're going to do a 2-shaker process. So we're going to put our lid on and give it 2 different shakes, each for about 10 to 20 seconds each. So after our first shake, we're going to get a nice little froth. But to really work in that egg, we got to single strain this one and reshake it one more time. So you can start seeing that frothiness which is coming. Discard the ice, we don't need it anymore. And let's give it one more shake. Remember, when you're shaking, you always want the shaker, if it spills, to always spill on you and not the person you're trying to serve. This one, you need to do it nice and rigorous. You'll feel a little pressure from the shaker, and that's a good thing. That means the egg is doing exactly what it needs. It looks beautiful. It's nice and fluffy right now. So now we have our glass ready to go. We're going to dump out everything. Set it ready. Get ready for our garnish. And now double strain. It's always better because it really helps with the froth. See that nice good head of froth right up on top? Now, if you like it a little more bitter than sweet, we have Angostura bitters, so we can put a couple drops up on top. You can even do something fun and take a toothpick or a straw to draw inside. You can make hearts, you can make a swirl, whatever you prefer. Right here, we're going to do a beautiful swirl. And now we're going to twist our lime gently. It's going to do a nice little zest on top. You can even put it on the rim, so when you first sip it, you're going to get a little of that. and stick it right on the edge. And here you go, Hannah's prayer.